Hello, this is Trevor from Telecom Training, and today we're going to be designing a dipole antenna to be used for transmitting or for receiving. In our example, we are using a dipole antenna with a frequency of 2.4 gigahertz. This frequency is generally used for Wi-Fi. First, we'll calculate the length of the element by dividing the speed of light by the frequency. Now here we have our calculation. Wavelength is equal to speed of light over frequency. Now the speed of light is 300 million meters per second, and the frequency is 2.4 billion hertz, which is 2.4 gigahertz. So under here I have 3 times 10 to the 8. I just remove the 8 zeros, and that's how I got 10 to the 8. And under here I got 2.4 times 10 to the 9. I just remove the 9 zeros and I get 10 to the 9. And here I divide 3 by 2.4 and I got 1.25 times 10 to the negative 1. By subtracting 10 to the 8 minus 10 to the 9, I get 10 to the negative 1. So we have 0.125 meters. So I just change that to centimeters, which is 12.5 centimeters. So 12.5 centimeters is our full wavelength at a frequency of 2.4 gigahertz or 2.4 billion hertz. Now for a dipole antenna, we just need half a wavelength. So we divide this 12.5 by 2. So we have 6.25 centimeters. Now as you can see, a dipole antenna got 2 elements. So we just divide that 6.25 by 2 again, so we get 3.125 centimeters for each of the elements. So if you are building this antenna, you will cut 2 pieces of wire at a length of 3.125 centimeters, and the gauge wire that you would use is either 22 or 24 gauge copper wire. As I said in the last slide, this frequency of 2.4 gigahertz simply means that we have 2.4 billion of these cycles every second. Now when this cycle is of a positive polarity, it induces a positive voltage into the element. Like here, a positive voltage will be induced into this element, and simultaneously you have a negative voltage being induced into element B. Now once element A is induced to this positive voltage, you'll have a current flowing from element A right through to the receiver. Now once this current gets to the receiver would remove the data or the audio, depending on if it is a Wi-Fi receiver or if it is an AM or FM receiver. And the return current will be sent to the negative side of the antenna, which is element B. And on the next cycle, element B would become positive. So current would flow from element B through the receiver and back to element A. This process is completed 24 billion times every second when receiving a 2.4 gigahertz frequency. Now things are a bit different when we're transmitting versus receiving. You'll notice here that our signal is traveling from the negative element through the transmitter to the positive element. Now I'll go back to the receiver to show you the difference. Now you'll notice here that when our signal comes in from the airways, it induces a voltage into the antenna and the current flows in the opposite direction. It flows from positive through the receiver to the negative side. When transmitting, it flows from the negative side through the transmitter to the positive side. Now this current flow through the elements cause an electric field and a magnetic field to be developed around the elements. And this electric field and magnetic field joins together to form an electromagnetic field. And this is what I have encircled the antenna here. So this electromagnetic field carries your information and it expands outward, carrying your information away from the antenna at 300 million meters per second, the speed of light. You'll notice here that I'm using one wire here before I was using 2. The reason why is because I just used 2 wires just to show you the current flow, how the current was flowing through the antenna, through the receiver or the transmitter, and back to the other side. I just want you to get a clear understanding of how that process works. But in general, we use a coaxial cable, which would be one solid wire, okay? The reason we would use coaxial cables is because of the advantage of impedance matching. For one, it is easier to match the impedance with a coaxial cable, and also the fact that we can control the noise. Coaxial cables have that ability where you could reduce the noise much more effectively than if you use other types of cables. Now here in this example, we're using a receiver, and this receiver is 50 ohms. And in order to have maximum power transfer, we need to have 50 ohms on the coaxial cable and 50 ohms on the antenna as well. Here I'm using a coaxial cable, which is 50 ohms, so we have impedance matching between the two. I also want to note that for safety, it's very important to ground the coaxial cable. So the shielded part of the coaxial cable, which is connected to one side of your element, would also be connected to ground. This is very important for safety, okay? Now the other side, which is the middle conductor of the coaxial cable, would be connected to the other element. You'll notice that this element here has 73 ohms, whereas everything else is 50 ohms. So we wouldn't have impedance matching with this. Dipole antennas, when you build a dipole antenna, it defaults to around 73 ohms. So we have impedance matching between the receiver and the coaxial cable, but we don't have impedance matching with the dipole antenna. So this is what we're going to talk about next. Now here I have a 50 ohm receiver, 50 ohm coaxial cable, but I have a 73 ohm antenna. Now in order to match these together, I use a Balun transformer. Basically what this does is that this area where you connect the coaxial cable is 50 ohms, and this area where you would connect the antenna is 73 ohms. So you'll be able to match your coaxial cable to your antenna. Another thing I want to touch on here is that a coaxial cable is an unbalanced medium, whereas the antenna here is balanced. What I mean by this is both elements here are the same length, like we cut them the same length. These two elements are identical. Whereas the coaxial cable has a copper line running down the middle that is for one path, and the other path is the braided shield, and those two paths are not the same. So the coaxial cable is unbalanced because the two paths are different. As you can see here, we have our coaxial cable with our center conductor and our braided shield here. So these two paths are different, so they are unbalanced. But as for the dipole antenna, we got two elements at 3.125 centimeters each. So this is balanced. So this is why we need the Balun transformer. Even if my antenna was 50 ohms, the same as the coaxial cable, and I connect them together, we will still have an impedance mismatch, so we wouldn't have maximum power being transferred because of this imbalance. You can't connect a balanced medium to an unbalanced. It has to be balanced to balance or unbalanced to unbalance. If I connect these two, I will have an impedance mismatch. So we could buy a Balun transformer with different impedance. So we need to know what size Balun transformer do we need for our application. We can have a Balun which is 1:1, 1:2, 4:1. It all depends on the impedance of the antenna and the cable, or whatever devices you're using it for. It all depends on the impedance of those devices. So how we calculate the impedance of this Balun is that we use this equation here. Z stands for impedance, the impedance of the antenna, which is 73 ohms, and Z cable, which is the impedance of the cable, which is 50 ohms. And then we take the square root of that. So under here we have 73 ohms over 50 ohms. So we divide 73 by 50, and then we take the square root of the results. So the results is 1.46. We take the square root of that and we get 1.21. So our Balun transformer would be 1 to 1.21. Now I don't believe there's a 1 to 1.21 Balun, so you'll pick the closest standard Balun that you could find. If this video was helpful to you and you would like to see more videos like this one, please don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Trevor from Telecom Training. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.